Hi there and welcome. Thanks for joining me. Today I want to tell you a story, not just about betrayal or heartbreak, but about the quiet unraveling of a marriage built more on survival than love. My name is Michael, and this is the story of how I reached the moment that changed everything. The moment I heard my wife say something that shattered whatever was left of the illusion I'd been clinging to. It wasn't just painful. It was a deep, final confirmation of every suspicion I had forced myself to ignore for years. And once I heard those words, there was no pretending anymore. No repairing what had never really been whole. But to understand that moment, I need to take you back to where it all began. I met Brittany during one of the darkest periods of my life. We were both struggling in different ways, but that mutual emptiness, that shared silence we carried around like a second skin, somehow brought us together. I had just lost my father, the only real family I had left. My mother passed away when I was 7, and from that moment on, my dad became my everything. He worked himself to the bone to give me a decent life. He never missed a parent-teacher meeting. He helped me with math homework even when he didn't fully understand it. And though he wasn't a man of many words, his presence made me feel safe in a world that had already taken so much. I always imagined that one day, when I was stable and successful, I'd repay him. Take him on vacations, buy him the house he always wanted, maybe just give him the rest he never took for himself. But life has a cruel way of rewriting plans. He got sick again. Cancer. The same disease he had beaten years before returned, this time meaner, faster. And within months he was gone. I didn't just lose a parent, I lost my anchor. Grief became a fog I lived in. Friends drifted away. I had no siblings, no aunts or uncles I could lean on. I was alone, and that loneliness had a weight to it, like drowning slowly in plain sight. That's when Brittany came into the picture. She had recently moved into the neighborhood, just a few houses down from where my father lived. I met her by chance, and when I realized I couldn't always be there during my dad's final weeks due to work, I asked if she could check in on him from time to time. It was a big ask, especially for someone who was practically a stranger. But she agreed without hesitation. She was calm, capable. She wasn't overly emotional, but she showed up. She brought groceries, helped with medications, and sat with him when I couldn't. My father grew fond of her. And over time so did I. After the funeral, the silence in my life became deafening. Brittany was one of the few constants in that storm. She'd seen the hard parts, the tears, the exhaustion, the version of me that didn't have answers or plans. And I think in that shared space of grief and uncertainty, something began to form. Not passion exactly, but familiarity. Safety. Looking back now, I see that I mistook comfort for connection. There wasn't a spark. At least not the kind I'd felt in past relationships. But back then I told myself that sparks were childish. That what mattered more was stability. Loyalty. Someone who didn't leave when things got hard. So when she suggested we get married, one quiet evening completely out of the blue, I didn't hesitate as much as I should have. She just looked at me and said, "Maybe we should just get married." No ring, no big speech, just a statement. I remember blinking in surprise. Not out of fear exactly. More like, okay, maybe this is it. I convinced myself that this was what adult love looked like. Grown-up love didn't come with fireworks. It came with reliability, right? We didn't have a big wedding. Neither of us had family to invite, and truthfully, I didn't have the energy to fake excitement. We kept it small and quiet, and in that quiet, I kept pushing aside the subtle alarms ringing in the back of my mind. You see, from the beginning, Brittany had a wall around her. She wasn't emotionally expressive. I'd open up to her, talk about my fears, my grief, my hopes, and she'd just sit there, eyes glazed, offering no real reaction. At first, I chalked it up to personality. Maybe she was private. Maybe she'd open up later. But she never really did. I don't remember a single time she said, "I love you," without me saying it first. And even then, it sounded like something she said out of obligation, not affection. Still, I convinced myself that her actions spoke louder. She'd been there for me in the worst chapter of my life. That had to count for something, right? But the truth was, things never got better. If anything, they slowly declined. The emotional distance between us turned into a canyon I couldn't cross. She grew colder, more withdrawn. There were no fights, just silence. And silence, I learned, can be louder than shouting. Then came the day that confirmed everything. It was a Thursday afternoon. One of my meetings got cancelled at work, so I headed home early. As I pulled into the driveway, I saw a familiar car parked outside. Her friends. I thought nothing of it. Brittany often caught up with her over wine. I walked in through the front door and heard laughter from the back porch. I didn't want to interrupt, just say a quick hello and head upstairs. But as I approached the back door, I heard Brittany's voice. Something about her tone made me stop just short of opening it. She was mid-sentence, laughing a little too freely. And then she said it. I didn't marry Michael because I loved him. I married him because I was terrified of being alone. He's kind, boring but kind. And I needed someone safe. Her words hit me like a punch to the chest. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. Her friend, clearly startled, asked, "You don't love him?" Brittany didn't hesitate. "No, I never did. I just didn't have the energy to keep dating. I thought maybe love would grow. It didn't." That moment shattered me. Suddenly, every cold stare, every indifferent reply, every missed opportunity for connection made sense. It all added up. I turned away, numb, walked quietly upstairs, locked myself in my home office for the first time ever. That door had never needed a lock before, but that night it did. I needed something. Anything between me and the truth I'd just heard. Later, Brittany came looking for me. She must have seen my car in the driveway. She knocked gently. "Michael," she called. I didn't respond. She knocked again, more firmly. Then my phone rang. Her name on the screen. I answered and simply said, "Please don't disturb me." She didn't call again. By sunrise, I knew exactly what I had to do. No anger. No screaming. Just clarity. We had no kids. No shared debt. Nothing that truly bound us except a piece of paper. And my silence. I waited until she left for work. Then I packed. Took only what was mine. Locked the front door behind me and walked away without saying goodbye. I checked into a hotel. Sent an email to my boss explaining I needed the day. Then I reached out to a divorce attorney. It was over. Quietly, completely, and without a fight. Because what's the point in fighting for something that was never real to begin with?